So coming into being a mayor, what visions did you have for what you wanted to do?
Well, number one, when you become the mayor, you're tasked with a lot of things, obviously. I guess one of the main things is keeping the village fiscally solvent. Good, smart spending. Everyone's paying a lot of taxes everywhere you go nowadays. So you want to try to do things as efficiently as possible. But as everybody knows, the price of a loaf of bread in the last 2 years went up dramatically. That doesn't end with the loaf of bread. Everything we deal with is getting more expensive. So you want to try to keep the cost down as best you can and providing service. I firmly believe that as a government, there are certain things we like to provide: parks, recreation, open spaces, cleanliness in the village. DPW works. We provide recreation with the beach. That's an expensive proposition, but people truly enjoy it. And I think a lot of people, they travel 100 miles a day to go to work. When they come up here, when they come home, it should be nice, relaxing, as crime-free as you can make it. So there's a lot of moving parts in that respect. So you just try to rely on the other trustees. If they have their responsibilities, they come back to me. I get it all the time, recommendations. Hey, I think maybe we should put some pickleball courts in. So now I got to try to figure out how to put pickleball courts in. But that's good. These are good. You make a lot of decisions. I mean, a lot.
Did you put pickleball courts in?
I'm trying. Pickleball courts is a little, we don't have a ton of property, but we do have enough. My little dilemma with pickleball courts, they can be a little loud, just by nature of the paddle and everything. So just putting in 2 pickleball courts sounds great, except if it's next to your house. So you have to try to find the right solution. You're never going to make everybody happy, but you try to make as many people as happy as you can.
Do you have an idea about where it might go?
Probably over in the town park, Winstanley Park in the middle of town. I think we can probably etch in a couple of courts in there. It's not around housing, so. I'm going to a mayor's conference on Monday. I'll be not soliciting bids, but they have tons of vendors up there, so I'll be interacting with vendors, recreation vendors. They come in, they build parks, they do that. The town, where Jesse is, they're going to be putting in a centennial park down at the beach, which is going to be great. It's going to show Greenwood Lake's history, 100 years. And so collaboratively, it's a town park, the village runs the beach, but he was a mayor for many, many years, and he has a soft spot for Greenwood Lake. So collaboratively, we want to make the park, as many parks as we can, nice for the people.
When I interviewed Jesse, he talked about the challenges of infrastructure, old buildings and that sort of thing in Greenwood Lake. Are you encountering those challenges?
Yes, we're encountering infrastructure. When I look at infrastructure off the top of my head, I automatically think of sewers, water, the plumbing. The plumbing pipes were put in 100 years ago, 90 years ago. So when they fail, we're digging. We're always trying to look for grants to improve what we have, but to change our water system or pipes would be insurmountable. But clean drinking water is probably one of the most precious things we got, right? That's people take it for granted. You turn on the faucet, you're expecting clean drinking water. So that's a challenge. Infrastructure in general, the buildings on Main Street. And what happens now when someone buys something, the standards today are different than the standards 70 years ago. So if someone buys a business and they want to do certain things, their septic has to be checked. And this is all from Department of Health also. So it's not just restrictive from from the village's standpoint. There are many agencies. We have the lake. The lake is governed by the DEC. If someone wants to put a house in, 50 feet from the lake, there's environmental issues that have to be dealt with. It's not meant to hurt people from doing things. It's just to protect the resources that we have. The lake is it's basically 8.5, 9 mile long lake, and the DEC, they regulate permits. I just got permits yesterday, 5 years worth to weed harvest, to basically mow the lawn with a machine. Because we get weeds in the spring, very common. So we have to treat the lake with herbicides, harvesting. There's a lot of things that could go into maintaining, a clean lake like that. It's our lifeblood. Businesses depend on it, marinas, restaurants. So I find that challenging, because I realize how important it is.
Any big infrastructure projects or any other big projects coming up that you're gearing up for?
Well, right now, from the village standpoint, and it's not infrastructure. Well, it's infrastructure. Within 2 weeks, we're going to be getting 8 or 9 village roads repaved, remilled. We try to do them on a 10-year cycle as best we can. So we keep track of which roads, we're blacktop last. And then, of course, we drive around constantly looking for potential, roads. So I think we're getting done at the end of September, early October, about 8 or 9 village roads. Now, what you see on 17, that's all state stuff. We don't have any jurisdiction over that. But all our back private roads, not private, but our back roads in Greenwood Lake, that falls under the village. So we try to have a maintenance program where we do as many as we can a year.
Any new businesses coming in?
Well, we're waiting with bated breath. Benjamin Steakhouse, again, they're right on the lake. It took them almost 2 years to get the proper credentials in order to build. So we're waiting to hear back from them. They spent a lot of money in doing their due diligence and bringing the business up to speed, or getting the business to where it can be built and stuff like that. So that's the biggest thing we have right now in the hopper. And we're also right now we're undergoing a comprehensive plan committee. We started that a couple of months ago, and obviously for those who don't know, a comprehensive plan is where do we want to be in 20 years from now, 25 years from now. So I put together about 18, 20 people, broke down to subcommittees, and they're working as subcommittees, and then they'll meet once a month, and I meet with a planning engineer once a month here, pretty much to go over zoning issues, multifamily houses. There are a lot of things that weren't done that we're seeing now that people potentially need. Mother-daughter houses, they weren't permitted. So we're trying to change things and bring it up to modern times. But there's a lot of code, and it's all done to protect the community, but sometimes it gets outdated. And then that's this comprehensive plan is. What's important to you? Is traffic been too bad? Is Main Street too dull? Is the park? Do we need more parks? So we have a good committee going, and then hopefully beginning of the year, early spring, we can sit down and see what the recommendations are, and then get the planners involved and implement code to bring it up the recommendations. So we're looking for community input. Not everything that they ask is going to happen just because they don't understand a lot of the other things. But we have ears, and we're willing to listen to.
So what are you hearing with those ears?
Little revitalization of downtown, stuff like that. But people have to understand, Greenwood Lake isn't Warwick, Greenwood Lake isn't Monroe. Everything has got their own little dynamic. So people are looking for more shopping. They're looking for a supermarket. But as a village person, an official, it's hard for me to go out and solicit. Who am I going to? They want me to solicit, Trader Joe's, Stu Leonard's. These are business decisions that they're going to make. And Grand Union left here 25 years ago, and that was our last big supermarket.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on the smaller mom and pop shops, and then we go to Warwick, West Milford, Monroe, Chester, for our big shopping. So it's kind of what we're hearing, a little bit of that, but the business has to be able to sustain itself also.
So Kroger's isn't coming?
Kroger's probably, I'd like a Kroger's, but probably not. Probably not.
I know with the previous mayor, he was talking about golf cart traffic.
Yeah, we have, that is up in the Assembly. The Assembly hasn't passed, it's called a home rule. The Assembly didn't pass it 2 years in a row. I told Assemblyman Brabenek, just put it up every year. I'm not sure why they're not passing it. Would it have been something I would have chased? No, but I don't have an issue with it. But but it does bring other problems. I mean, you can't be on state roads. So if you cross Windermere Avenue, which is our main street, you're on a state road. I think you can cross them. We're not Myrtle Beach. Or a coastal town. Is there a use for it? I think controlled little regulation, I think it would be fine. I would be pro for it. Do I see it happen immediately? Probably not.
Well, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, no. I voted for it when I was a trustee to at least look into it anyway.
Are other people interested? What?
It's kind of, as of right now, well, it's out in a survey. We put out the comprehensive plan put out a survey. And I think that was one of the questions. So we're compiling that survey now. And I'll let you know when I get the results of the survey what the people are saying about that.
Have you sort of glanced over the survey yet?
I haven't glanced it, but we have one, the Deputy Mayor, Chad Cellier, he does, and he reports back. So I want a little more flavor. Only about 250, 300 people have answered. I'd like a little more. We're trying to get a little bit of the younger demographic to respond to it. They seem not to want to.
Do any ideas come up over and over?
I'd have to hold off on answering that because I'm not quite sure. He kind of just briefs us a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I really don't know what the results have been yet. So,
do you have any druthers about what you'd like to see in the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I'd like to see the zoning change, at least to make multi-families, and you have to be careful with multi-families because you want it to work out. But I think there's room for a little bit of more leeway. And what happens, like when you have more people here, I believe, I'm not sure that this exactly, but I believe the school population has dropped. We have like 45 Airbnbs within the confines of the village. So that means there's not, let's just say they're homes. That's 45 homes that don't have children in it. So you want to watch those numbers, so your school population stays good. So if you have apartments that will bring kids in, that can help that. So it's a slope that you have to try to be smart about. Do you want? I mean, Green Lake isn't built for 6-story buildings because we don't have sewage, number one. But how much do you want? Where do you want it? Stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, trying to figure out the right mixture of single-family houses, two-family houses, multi-family houses. But we'll see what the people are saying. Some are for it. I think you have one segment of the population that wants to keep it as old as possible. Old school, Greenwood Lake, that's it. And then you want another group would like to see it become like a tourist town like Lake George. I think we have to try to find middle ground. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. We have the lake, we have marinas, we have restaurants. So it does get touristy. I see people all the time coming to the lake, and you can tell that they're renting an Airbnb. You can see it a mile away, and that's good, you know. And they'll come to restaurants in town. So.
Any housing aims for more housing capacity?
Well, we don't have a lot of land left in Greenwood Lake that's buildable. You know, we do have slopes and stuff like that. I would like to see a little bit of improvement where we can.
Mm-hmm.
So specific goals I don't have, but I think there's room for improvement and room for advancement to make us a housing friendly community. But specifically, I don't have anything right now.
Are you bringing in a consultant for the comprehensive
Oh yeah.
plan?
Oh, we have engineers already. We have an engineering firm that's what they do, planning, and so we have one engineer assigned to the committee, but I meet with the head engineer, a planning person. That's what all this woman does is plan for many municipalities. Very sharp, knows what they do. They know what they're doing.
What group is she from?
It's Voorhees. I forget exactly that. We have so many. Voorhees. I forget the last part of it. I can't remember that.
Are they from Orange County?
Yeah. They're from Monroe or New Windsor.
Ah.
I should know the name on the top of my head, but they're good, and we've had them in the past for zoning issues and stuff, and they're sharp.
Any particular desires that you have that are at the top of your wish list for?
Any designers?
Desires that you
Oh.
have for Greenwood Lake that's at the top of your wish list?
The recreation is up there, the parks, and the housing. There is improvement in each of them. I mean, we're in the right direction, but I think you can always improve. If you sit back and just rest, to get out of the past and into the future, you have to always kind of be thinking ahead. And again, that's the comp plan does. It tries to get us 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So we'll be relying on the recommendations from that.
So how do you see Greenwood Lake in 20 years, if you visualize?
Ooh. More business, more visitors. We're 50 miles or less than 50 miles from Midtown Manhattan.
Hmm.
And I can't tell you how many people who I know. I worked, after the police, I worked in the private real estate industry in the city. And when COVID came, a couple of them, just from my firm, rented Airbnbs for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And they couldn't believe how nice it was. Now, their business is keeping them in the city because they're not going to do. Back then, you didn't have to go into work. Everything was on a Zoom call. But I think there's room for more people to commute. I think transportation is huge also. We're on the wrong side of the river, so to speak. Our rail service takes us to Jersey. You either have to go to Monroe, Harriman, or Tuxedo, Ramsey to get a train. Now you go to Hoboken and you got to go across the river. Versus if you live in, Westchester or not Rockland, Westchester and Putnam, you get on the train right into Grand Central. So transportation is an issue, I think, on this side of the river. But we have buses. Takes a little bit. I commuted for 45 years to either Midtown or the Bronx, so it can be done.
Okay. Anything I didn't ask you about that you'd like to talk about regarding Greenwood Lake,
Let's see.
its development, or? challenges?
Well, it's a great place to raise a family,
Uh-huh.
and I would like to keep it affordable. So when you do, like when I went in the Army, I came out of the Army, I got a decent job, I was able to buy a house. I don't know if I see that right now. I don't know if I see that. So we have to figure out a way to keep people here. Make it where they can afford to stay here.
How can you do that?
Oof. Jobs. But Greenwood Lake itself, we're not going to ever be a job hub.
Yeah.
But Orange County, there are things.
Mm-hmm.
My son, I'll give you an example. My son, 13 years ago, became a school teacher. He couldn't find a job in New York State. He ended up moving to Phoenix. He's still there. Now, job markets change, they fluctuate. But when he was looking to work in his field, he didn't have to go that far, but he was going to go to North Carolina or somewhere else, Florida. So that's an issue, But you want to make it as affordable where kids can live where they grew up, and that's just not unique to Greenwood Lake. I think that's everywhere right now. Look at the prices of houses.
So how
does a
can
25-year-old person, unless they, they're making real out of money, how are they going to buy even in Greenwood Lake? A bi-level costs $500,000-$600,000.
So is there any recipe in the comprehensive plan for less expensive housing?
It's something that we're looking at, sure. It's affordable housing is an important part should be part of everybody's community efforts,
And so how will you do that?
Well, we have to see what the results of the thing are. We have to see change zoning if we have to. But then again, you don't want to cause. It has to be done at the right place, right time. Every neighborhood, it might not be conducive in every neighborhood, but I think there's room for improvement, and every little bit helps. It's a situation that you have to deal with now, but there are only so many lots in Greenwood Lake, but it's the zoning part that we'll have to look at, stuff like that.
So is there much in the way of lots available?
No, there are some.
Uh-huh.
I mean, but there are a lot of old structures. You had a lot of neighborhoods in Greenwood Lake in the mountain part. They were built in the 30s, 40s. Some are bungalows. That's what they were, and then they transitioned in the 50s and 60s to winter residence. But they're smaller. They're in the mountains, and hard to rebuild there. Infrastructure up there is difficult to deal with. It's challenging, but you take baby steps.
Chris, do you have questions?
I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you have an update on the skate park?
The skate park, yes. The best I have for you, they're waiting to go out to bid. The engineers are writing up the bid, but it's not going to be the skate park probably that was first put forward 8 years ago. They're leaning towards now making it a pump track, which is very, very nice, with a little bit of skateboarding on it, like a bowl or two.
Right.
I think they felt now, Warwick just built, they're building a $750,000 skate park, 3-4 miles, 5 miles down the road. So I think everybody reshuffle the deck, so to speak, and make it a combination. A pump track looks like it would attract a different set of people, everyone. I mean, I ride a bicycle. I'm not going to go on a skateboard, so that's where it stands now. I spoke with the engineers about a couple of weeks ago, and they're just writing up the bid specs, and they're going to try to go out to bid very, very soon.
And is there funding already in place to wrap it up, or?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, again, we have to see what the final number is. By making it a skate park, I think is lowering that number a little bit. But the village is, we have applied, we got a grant. We had to rechange how it was structured. It has to be a village. It was and originally it was its own entity. But in order to get grant funding, the village had to be the lead on it. So that's what got us involved. And the town is donating the land from the Winstanley Park. So the funding seems to be there to accomplish what they're looking to accomplish right now, without going any further in debt.
Great.
It looks like we should be there, but I know it's taken a long time, and it was just the dynamics of figuring out how to finance it. So.
Sure.
But Warwick has a couple of good ones going on up there now.
The new one's opening
Soon, right?
yeah, real soon, I think. Yeah. I think the pump track is great. There are so many kids that ride their BMX bikes around here. It almost makes a little bit more sense.
When Jesse did bring up that idea at a meeting, and at first I did like a little puppy dog head tilt, and I went, I like it. I think it would get more action. And if you notice, 8-10 years ago, there were a lot more kids skateboarding than you see now. And now you see them, now they're on e-bikes too. So I think bikes might be the future.
That's all I had, Jess.
So when do you think the pump track might be up and running?
And again, I don't do the day-to-day ops on that, but talking to them, that could be starting to be built in the spring.